promised, I'll be making another video once we're around these levels and just to observe how the market is reacting to this one level of tether dominance. And the trades that I did open yesterday on Doge did get stopped out. However, it is maintaining the 0786. I, however, have decided to take a larger position in BitTensor. And the reason being is because it's at a very key level that I'm seeing. And I did speak about the cock and balls structure yesterday, where it does break down from the supply region here and then springs up from that area. Not only that, I'm also seeing a golden pocket area here from this move from here to this move up here, right? And should you extend that further down to here and you see a 50% level, this is on log, but if you turn it off log, it also sliced right into the golden pocket of the non-log of the full range. So there's a bit of confluence, or a few levels of confluence here when it comes to fib levels, as well as structure, that allows me to be a bit more confident in the bids here. And I've got around, how much size do I have here? I put some stops right below the daily low. I've seen structures like this hold after the daily opens from the pivot point, and generally we shouldn't see below that, but it is possible that we revisit these lows sort of like this potentially and come back to the wick before coming back up. However, in terms of reversals, as you can see here, once the reversal starts to occur, you don't generally see below those lows on the green candle again, right? With that being said, let me go back to this chart. There could be a case where we do come back into the mid-range of whatever high this creates. However, that's, something that I'll deal with later, and the stops are generally at the moment at break even on those ads, and I'll treat the situation accordingly. As for Bitcoin, there is a bit of confluence across the fibs as it comes to the 0618 region from this move to the low region here, right? And we did wick through that area and have held it as support. And like I said yesterday, there was really very likely chance that we see a market reversal versus a complete collapse, which is what is occurring in front of us currently. We're seeing the price action be held, but with that being said, it doesn't mean that this downtrend is over, because that's what it is, right? We're looking at lower highs and lower lows, and until there is some sort of action above this high here, that is still going to be a downtrend. So you might see a move here if we're bullish, and then ranging until we go up into the end of the year maybe. But let's, I guess, speak about the immediate term. And the reason why I said that we might see these lows again is because on all other pivots from the tether dominance one level, we don't generally see on circumstances where like there is a pivot, we don't see any immediate move up. In this is a very large example of this one level being tagged. That is very immediate how it comes back up, but it does revisit the area, and that range lasts for an extremely long time, right? This range at the bottom lasts for around 100 whatever so days. And in terms of the lower time frame, I guess rebounds from the one level, this is from the previous peak of the 2021 bull market. You can see that the return to one here is met by, and this is a trend that I've been seeing from the lower time frame resets, is around 2 weeks sitting at the bottom. And as you can see, I'll put it side by side here in comparison to what we got now. Let's have a look. Compare what we have on the right side, which is the 2021 high. How do I closer, like that. Perfect. Sweet. All right. We can see, and this is on the daily as well. Sweet. I'll redraw it just so we can see where that reset occurs. It comes down to this one level, sort of like how we are there at the moment, right? And it actually pushes up, meaning the prices will pump in terms of the dollar value. But then there's a bit of a rest in this area where it does revisit those lows. So let's see what that looks like. This section on the right hand side when we were there in 2021, and we'll compare it with our price action currently. I know they're extremely different contexts, but it'll give you an idea of it's not just going to go straight up essentially. And I don't think anybody should expect that prices goes up in a straight line until there is some, I guess, consolidation that occurs before that. So as you can see on the right hand side here, this is exactly that point of the pivot from 1, and we're sort of like in this first move here where there is a bounce, right? And there might be returns back to the lower regions of this move before going up. And we can also see this behavior of the tether dominance in other circumstances, namely here, right? I know this didn't do the full extension to 1618, however, any reversion back to 1 actually stays there for quite a long time, right? This circumstance stayed at that 1 level for 23 days. This one approaches 1, wicks off, wicks it again, but this whole bottom region lasts for around 10 days, right, before bouncing again. And this circumstance where it does go to the 1618 level and then returns back to 1 lasts for approximately like 2 weeks, right? So we're looking at potentially 10 days around this region, and I could be wrong about this and it goes straight up, but if we are seeing other circumstances in the past that, you know, follow the exact rule set whereby we go to 1618 of the measured move and then back to 1 every single time, this has been the case. There are times such as over here on this immediate left hand side where it rests around that 1 level and it continues going down. That is not out of the question as well. But should we go to the upside after this range, I do think that if you are going to get into position and you're sidelined, now is the time, right? And obviously watching the lows created by the market and having stops below there, this will give you the best, well, in my opinion, no financial advice, it will give you the best shot at a really good risk reward trade, right? Because what we're going to be seeing potentially next, oh my gosh, apologies. What we're going to see next is this, and as you can see, this high is created here, and what I'm measuring is the swing low that it creates, and now it's beautifully projected a 1618 as I've spoken about in previous videos once again here, and it might just go like that into this level, right? And that would be the top of the market in my opinion. We've never seen 3 consecutive drives like this. I do believe, well, like every single other time we've only seen 1 drive from the main 1618 measured move, right? 1 drive into the region and then rejection, reset. In this circumstance, it's very, very similar to what's going on right here. And if we were to mirror these things, and I would like to preface that this is from a time-based perspective, so don't take the magnitude of the actual move into consideration here. What I'm looking at is time-based, right? And I will throw in some altcoin analysis as well, not in terms of price predictions, but in terms of time as well, right? actually, I'll use this entire move here because it goes into that altcoin analysis and the duration of the potential altcoin season and how far that might continue to. So what I'm looking at is this, keep out an eye for this high here, and that would be the Bitcoin high, right? Potential Bitcoin high. So what I'm looking at is where the lows created, and as you can see, the peak of our current move to 1618 is approximately at the right section, right? Like it's almost at the exact same time, right? Maybe a few days over, a few days under. And also the low is created not too far out from when this 2021 low was created previously, around 5 days out, right? And the high that we're looking for that may occur, a deviation, between 5 days either side, is potentially July, or the right side of July, maybe, because this is delayed by 5 days. Maybe it's the 5th of August, which we push into the final bottom of the tether dominance before seeing a reversal, right? And why I have put this section here, right? I believe the entire bottom here is where the altcoin market topped out for the 2021 market. Let me verify that on the right side here. So let's go to Near Protocol. Not all cryptocurrencies did a major rally during this upward period on tether dominance. Only a select few. So the probability of, think about it this way: there's a few few orders of different, I guess, levels of selection here. So you have a very low probability that you're gonna select a profitable token, and then an even lower probability, compounded, of it running at the very tail end here as well. So as you can see, this blue line to the 24th of January, right, is the peak of Near, right? January 11th. And where was Bitcoin on January the 11th? Let's have a look-see. Doing a nice pumpy on the market at the moment, which is nice. January 11th, Bitcoin was doing a massive move down. And I guess during this period, there's a lot of distribution into altcoins, right? So what I'm trying to say is that even when Bitcoin potentially peaks, and hopefully I'm making, some sense here. What I'm saying is when Bitcoin, or this tether dominance, goes into this August low potentially, this is, imagine it just like starts shooting up into this section in August, right? And Bitcoin tops here. Maybe it's at 150, 160, 180. I think it's around there, right? We'll be watching it a tick at a time. I probably won't be covering coins too much as we go through this move. Just be aware that if we start pushing downwards on the tether dominance, the level to be eyeing off, should this be the absolute high, local high of tether dominance, the level to be watching is around 4.08, right? And as we approach that, the risk of a rollover becomes substantially higher, and the expected value that you are going to potentially extract out of Bitcoin in particular is lower. So your bet sizing would be lower. It would be the highest here at the potential pivot because you have like the best risk reward, and also the biggest magnitude of the move for me is obviously positioned in BitTensor. I might look for a Bitcoin long later down the line once I find an edge entry on like the 1618 indicator that I've created. But what I'm trying to say is that even when this hits this level, it's not over. there's potential of an altcoin rally after the fact and distribution into altcoins into the period of October, maybe. There's less data to, I guess, confirm whether or not this is going to this is going to work out into October. So there's a lot of risk there. What I do know is there is a 100% probability currently on how I've measured out everything that if tether dominance gets to the 4.08% region going from here as an absolute local high, that there will be a rejection. Like, you want to be pretty much protected because the initial Bitcoin dump will push altcoins. Let's have a look. Let's have a closer look at this so then we can verify that when Bitcoin does, excuse me, this chart has been molested. Apologies. All right. So let's go to this region, which I was looking at before. This top region here on the left-hand side, if you guys can see, it's right here, right? That's where Bitcoin tops. So let's go to the Bitcoin chart here. Let's go to the Bitcoin chart. All right. Let's have a look. Right. So when Bitcoin tops and then does its initial nuke, right, which is from here to here, there is a 50% drop. I know it doesn't look large on the log scale, but it is a substantial drop. If you've leveraged positions at the 1618 region that we marked out on tether dominance, and you've opened the trades that, like the final trades or whatever, from like, you know, earlier in the extension aiming to exit at 1618, you're going to be wanting to exit those positions. Well, that's what I would do. And when a capitulation type event occurs on Bitcoin, like a large capitulation, maybe to say, for example, in this circumstance, it goes back into this region. For us, in our scenario, we might see something like we move the price up, right? I don't know how far it's going to go. Maybe it goes brushes 150 and then it makes a top. I have no idea. I'm just guessing. And then it goes like this, right? Maybe that's once it kind of gets back into this region, right? That is when it would be a good time to risk on alts once more for a potential final push. You're running a lot of, you know, potential risk of, you know, getting absolutely dumped on. You want to find an edge entry once we kind of come to those regions and have a final pump, because it isn't like the smallest pump, but it is the riskiest pump, right? The final maybe 100 to 200% pump on select altcoins. So your likelihood of selecting the correct ones which are going to pump, because not all of them do. Let's look at Link in this period of time. Link does not follow suit, right? So let's see. This is the dump here. This is the Bitcoin dump right here, and Link gets halfway up to like the rebound zone of this range, and then it continues to nuke. It doesn't make a new all-time high, and that's going to be the case for majority of altcoins. So whatever pump that has occurred previously on everything, the last move is going to be subject to your ability to select bullish alts, which is literally gambling. So hopefully that has been somewhat informative. What we can see in Link here, and you know, I should have kept that trade open. We're bouncing from 0.786. Let's look at Near. Near has bounced off its, you know, April lows, which it's swept the lows, the liquidity, and it's bouncing from that region. It does look like a cooked chart. I don't really want to touch this at all. Tau is somewhat palatable. I know this structure. I've seen this structure repeat itself, so there is a potential of reversal. Radium. It's funny, right? A lot of the charts have kind of converged to their range 0.78, Doge, near, Link. Oh no, near went way below that. Apologies. Hype has gone back to the low 30s and has bounced. I do think that Hype does share like a lot of similarities with what we're seeing in near here, whereby like literally like this is like the methodology that I'm showing is very repeatable in the sense that like the measured moves are very similar, right? So let's go to here, and I think it's like that, right? Ugh. Oh my goodness. Let's put a log scale. Cool. Right. So in this circumstance, let me get a close measure on that. I'm literally throwing the ball from the bottom, right, to this spike up and to the low that it creates. In this circumstance, we've hit the absolute high of the market for near. I've done the same measurement for hype, and perhaps this is the absolute top as well. There's like there are very conflicting signals here, and hopefully Brohan and other hype token holders are watching this video, because from my measure I don't have an extension that goes beyond this $45 region, and perhaps it does go higher than that, but what it can be sort of related to, if we were to take away the fibs altogether, is this high break here. And the reason why I was saying in the chats with the boys that hype might go back down to the low 30s is because I was watching Near's chart where like this extension goes just beyond the all-time highs, right? Like this, right? And then it comes back down to retest the all-time high level, right? And in this circumstance, I will use this line arbitrarily, right? Which is down at the low 30 region, and it did hit like $31. So that was the trade there and my justification for it. And I understand that fractals are memes and whatnot. However, price structure tends to have a rhythm to it, especially when you have confluence with other things such as the 1618 pivot, and obviously in the circumstance when we're at these highs, we were likely to go down to the one reset on tether dominance, and therefore the price of hype, if we're going down on the one reset, or we're going up to the one reset on tether dominance, the market is extracting value into tether, and therefore hype is probably likely to go down. And if I've seen it before, it's very possible, is my point. And with the measure from the bottom to 4618, there's a high likelihood that there's a pivot there as well. So hopefully this sort of hashes out like a bit of the thought process as it comes to, or when it comes to rather, thinking about the market, and multiple points of evidence that can give you a good idea on when a good time to de-risk is and a good time to not risk as much. And when I say expected value as well, like when you're at the lows here, right, the higher you move up, the lower the expected value of the move, because you've got there's less of the move to extract, right? And the trades, the bet sizes that you're taking should technically be more risky at the bottom and less risky at the top, because there's only so much juice you can squeeze at the top, and you can squeeze more juice out at the bottom before the expansions, and you're not always going to get the expansions right either. And that has been very, very evident from this cycle so far, and it has fallen flat almost for a year now. So yeah, hopefully this video has been helpful. I've been speaking for way too long, and hopefully you've gotten some value out of it and maybe have considered to purchase, some of your favorite cryptocurrencies with like stop losses at the lows or whatever, and watch that one level as it oscillates, and potentially pivot from here. If it goes further down or further up here, then we're cooked, right? We're pretty much cooked, and we wait until it gets to this base here and reassess. But I think that, you know, if we go down or go up from here with tether dominance, it's over. Hopefully that's been helpful, guys. Cheers for watching. Peace.